Hey, what is going on, guys? In this video today, we're going to be going over a major mistake that Epic Games has made in regards to the future of competitive Fortnite on console. I really believe that if this mistake is not corrected in the immediate future, you can pretty much kiss any chance of a respectable competitive Fortnite scene on Xbox or PS4 goodbye. Now, there are going to be some haters down in the comment section below, I'm sure. They're going to laugh and talk down upon competitive Fortnite on console in general. Some people will probably even go as far as to say there will never be any kind of competitive console scene. However, I think that my channel, as well as many other fast-growing console-oriented Fortnite channels, show that there is really a huge market for high-level console gameplay, which is exactly what you'd see at competitive events. And at the end of the day, according to some recent financial data, Fortnite is actually the #1 revenue generating game on console, while only being the #5 revenue generating game on PC. So at the end of the day, I think it would be really foolish for Epic to simply ignore such a large part of their player base when it comes to the competitive side of things. So now that we got that little rant out of the way, let's get into what exactly Epic is doing so wrong in regards to competitive Fortnite on console. So this whole discussion stems from the Summer Skirmish event that happened a few days ago on Friday, July 20th. And this was overall a really interesting event. It was done very similar to the format of Friday Fortnite, where players would actually hop into public game lobbies on their respective consoles or platforms and play based on a point system, where a win was worth 5 points, an individual kill was worth 1 point, and any game you got with 20 plus eliminations was a bonus of 10 points. Now, the winner of this event was a guy that a lot of you probably have never heard of now, and if you did, it was definitely from this event, a guy that goes by the name of iDropsBodies. Now, this guy actually does play on console, PS4 to be exact, and when I say he won this Summer Skirmish event, that's putting it a little underwhelmingly, because he absolutely dominated it. I mean, this guy started off, I believe, with like a 24 kill win, so he got 5 points for the win, 24 points for the kills, and another 10-point bonus for the 20-plus kill game. Then he followed that up with like a 20-kill win, and then a 17-kill win, and then an 18-kill win. I mean, from the very beginning, he had it pretty much wrapped up just by how many points he was getting per game. And I remember the peak of the domination was I checked about 2 hours into the event, and he was in first place with 5 games played, and the guy in second place had like 8 games played, third place 9 games played, fourth place 8 games played. So this guy was ahead of all of the people who already had played 3 to 4 extra games than him, and he still had considerably more points than all of them. So this right there, the fact that he just ran away with the event from the very beginning, sparked a lot of suspicion from the community. First off, as I mentioned, this was a guy that really no one had ever heard of. He actually qualified through Solo Showdown, so it's not like he had a huge audience on either YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch, but a lot of people were watching his past broadcasts and looking up his stats, and they felt that it didn't really fit with a guy who was going out there and getting all of these, 20 plus, 15 plus kill wins in some of the biggest Fortnite games of his life for, hundreds and thousands of dollars. So that's when the accusations against iDropsBodies started running absolutely rampant. People were saying he was having people make new accounts, queue up with him, and feed him kills. They were saying he was messing with people's internets, making them really easy targets for him in-game. They were saying that he was doing things like leaving any lobby that had less than 100 players and less than an absolute perfect bus path for him. And probably the most common complaint and accusation made against iDropsBodies was a lot of people were totally convinced that he was using mouse and keyboard on PS4 to get all of these high kill games. If you didn't know, it is possible to play with a mouse and keyboard directly through PS4 because it's supported by the game, and it's even possible on Xbox using an XIM adapter. So, luckily what happened is Epic actually did look into this very heavily. I mean, the public outrage was ridiculous, and I think rightfully so because there was so much money on the line. So Epic made sure to really get in front of it and do an in-depth look at all of iDropsBodies' kills for the event, and basically break down one by one whether or not they were legitimate. At the end of the day, they made a huge post on a forum that concluded that everything he did was legit. They examined the age of the accounts, the IP address of the accounts. They examined whether or not he killed any gamertag or PSN ID more than one time. And they basically came to the conclusion through their in-depth research that iDrop's bodies won totally fair and square. He never killed the same PSN ID more than one time. Every account he killed was operating on a unique IP address. All the accounts were created at different times. Some were multiple years old, while some were only a few months old. But the last bullet point in this forum post is hands down the most important, and it's what we're going to be spending the rest of the video discussing. Keep in mind, this comes directly from an Epic employee, so there isn't any, wild speculation or putting words in people's mouth. The last bullet point addresses the accusation that iDrop's bodies used mouse and keyboard in this competition, and it says, there is no evidence that would suggest to us that iDrop's bodies played the competition using a mouse and keyboard. Furthermore, we do not restrict input devices for players on our platform in an effort to promote accessibility for our entire audience. Now, there's a little bit of corporate talk in here, so let me just tell you what the guy really means. We don't think that iDrop's bodies use mouse and keyboard, but even if he did, we don't restrict that kind of stuff, so he still would have gotten the win and still would have gotten the prize money from the entire event. Now, this, and there's no two ways around it, is absolutely horrible for the future of competitive console Fortnite. And you guys may think that this was like a clickbait title where I'm going to title it something along the lines of Epic just killed competitive Fortnite overnight, but it is 100% the truth. If they allow mouse and keyboard on console, there will not be a legitimate competitive Fortnite scene full of console players. I'm going to lay out for you right now, before we discuss this a little further, what the competitive scene on console is going to look like if mouse and keyboard is allowed and directly sanctioned by Epic in their events. Alright, so the PC side of things is going to be the top, 50 or 100 PC players. It's going to be the absolute best of the best in the world who consistently qualify and who are just legitimately the best PC players in the world. What is the console side of things going to look like? Well, you hope it would be the 100 or 50 best console players in the world, but basically what it would be is after the top 100 PC players are selected on PC, the next 100 best PC players are going to plug their mouse and keyboard into their PS4 or Xbox, use their XIM adapter if they need to, and since they couldn't qualify on PC just barely, they're going to hop on console and qualify through there and play in all of the console tournaments and win all of the console tournaments. The advantage that a good mouse and keyboard player would have on console cannot be understated. I mean, seriously, just the smoothness and accuracy of aiming and moving around with a keyboard is literally 10 times better than moving around and aiming with a controller. I mean, it's literally the #1 thing that makes PC Fortnite have such a skill gap, because if you can master mouse and keyboard, you're literally never going to miss a shot. You're going to be incredibly clean with building and editing and moving around in your inventory. You are going to be absolutely dominant even on the PC side of things against other players using mouse and keyboard. Can you imagine what someone who has mastered mouse and keyboard would do to a lobby full of console players using a controller? And here's the kicker, okay, to make it somewhat fair on PC, they turn off aim assist. The precision with a mouse when aiming is so insane that even without aim assist, you can hit all of your shots if you're accurate with it. Could you imagine a player accurate with a mouse and keyboard with aim assist on console playing in a lobby of 99 other players using a controller? I mean, it just kills absolutely any chance for any guys who play console legitimately using a controller to qualify for any of the actual console Fortnite events when Epic eventually does release them and sanction them and give them a prize pool. I mean, it really is sad, for those top tier guys like Nick Merckx, heck, maybe even me, I've always felt like I could seriously make some headway in the competitive console scene. There's no chance if mouse and keyboard is allowed. I consider myself a confident person, but even I am not, foolish enough to think that I'd seriously be able to hold my own against a lobby of 100 experienced veteran PC players using mouse and keyboard with aim assist while I only have a controller and I'm aiming with thumbsticks. It really is sad. It's awful for the competitive console Fortnite scene, and even if you're not one of those top guys that thinks you could have made headway in the competitive scene, it's bad for all of you guys watching. Like I said, if you're watching my channel right now, that means you have at least some interest in competitive Fortnite being played at a high level, you know, seeing the best players, improving by watching them. Well, good luck improving watching PC guys when you're playing on console, because like I've said in some of my other videos, it's almost like a totally different game watching guys with mouse and keyboard play when you're using a controller on console. So I'm sure there's a lot of interest in you guys to actually see the top tier guys who are playing with the same equipment as you are, but if this is allowed, it's not going to happen. And if you don't believe me, I think a really nice anecdote of what I'm trying to explain here is Tfu's reaction to this whole situation. So Tfu actually had a somewhat disappointing performance in Summer Skirmish for his standards. You know, some of it was out of his control, if you know what I'm talking about with the whole golf cart thing. But after the event was over, someone in his Twitch chat asked him basically, you know, if you could do that over again, what would you change? And I wish I could play the clip, but I don't want to risk copyright, so I'll just put it in the description below and describe what he said. First off, he said, you know, I wouldn't get in a golf cart, and if you saw the way he died, you would understand why that was. And then he paused for about 5 to 10 seconds and said, oh yeah, instead I would have played on console with a mouse and a keyboard. And even though Tfu was probably kidding because he's good enough to win these things actually playing against PC players, I can absolutely 100% guarantee you that with that much money on the line, PC players would be lining up left and right to plug their mouse and keyboard into their console and go on and dominate and qualify and win money that way. You know, we're not talking about small pots of like, you know, $50, $100 where it wouldn't really be worth it to like sacrifice morality and good values for it. There is literally going to be hundreds and thousands and millions of dollars on the line. So I can't even blame PC guys who would be willing to get that money by going on to console, even though it isn't the most admirable thing in the world. When millions of dollars are on the line, people will do a lot worse things in life than plug their mouse and keyboard into their console and win the events that way. So again, much like a lot of these gameplay problems, you can't blame the players. You need to blame Epic for this absolutely ridiculous decision they're making. So I highly doubt anyone from Epic will see this video. This was more intended for you guys. You guys should be mad about this. You guys should be aware of this little thing that Epic has seemingly swept under the rug, because I know they can identify when people are using mouse and keyboard. Since you need to physically plug it into the console, they need to ban it, or else the competitive side of Fortnite will be an absolute joke run by PC players, and there will be no aspirations for any console players to actually make it at the top tier competitive level. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Sorry it ran a little long, but if you stayed the entire time, I want to make sure I'm not going crazy here. Leave me a comment down in the comment section below. If you're a console Fortnite player, do you care if top tier competitive console Fortnite is filled with PC players using mouse and keyboard on console? Or do you want to watch guys who are actually console players using the same equipment every other console player uses? Be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, do whatever the heck you want, and I will catch you guys next time.